Hello and welcome into the Skraby Show, January 27th, 2025. Thank you to everybody for joining. You could watch on YouTube if you would like. Just go to YouTube, search 97.3 The Fan. I'm right there. Also, you can go to Facebook, 97.3 The Fan, and you can go to Twitch, 97.3 The Fan, or my Twitter, at Matt Skraby, MATTSKRAB as in boy Y. Alongside my Twitter, you can go to at 97.3 The Fan SD. So, we have a lot to talk about tonight. We're going to be talking Padres, and it's not my favorite topic in the world, this whole lawsuit thing, but we got some new news today, so I do need to at least mention that. We're going to talk about the Padres and Ken Rosenthal's report that Michael King is on the block, so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Chiefs winning once again, and we will also talk about some of the there was a couple articles that came out over the weekend from Kevin Acee. One was, there's three total. So one was a Q&A with Sheil Seidler and her people. And so it was an email conversation. So they put that transcript up on the website. Another one was an article kind of highlighting that this team is still going to have a top 10 payroll in 2025. And so maybe we should focus on that rather than all the bad. And I'm not saying that's what the article was about, but if they're going to be in the top 10 of payroll, then I guess we can't really be that mad, but we'll get to that as well. And then the third one was just kind of differing opinions from each side about what's happening. And again, not my favorite thing to talk about in the world, but I know that people are going to really need to, or they want to learn about it. So, okay, let's see here. Let's start with, who should we start with? Let's start with Michael King, because Michael King was a revelation for everyone last year. We knew he was good. We had no idea how good he was going to be, and he ended up being amazing. He ended up being a savior almost, because throughout the season, starting pitching was struggling at times with injury. Guys had to miss a few starts, and Michael King was right there. And Michael King was also really, he wasn't just right there. He was an ace for this team. And I know that I've said in the past that sometimes trading a really, really, really good player to kind of build up the rest of the team is the only way to go. Not only way to go, but it is an avenue for a team. We saw it with Juan Soto. Juan Soto was traded to the Yankees, and the Padres got an incredible haul. They don't have any players like Juan Soto. So we're not going to see the type of return that the Yankees gave the Padres with Michael King and another team. It's just not going to happen. Michael King doesn't have a long-term contract. He is, heading into his free agent year, so it's kind of a rental for a team who wants to sign him or a trade for him. But the more I think about this whole thing, the more I got to say, you cannot trade Michael King. Unless there is some offer on the table that is just way too good to refuse. I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse. I had to. I don't think you trade Michael King, because here's why. If you trade Michael King and you get some guys back, say you get another rotation piece, you're not going to get Michael King. You're going to get a guy who is good enough to be traded for Michael King, probably along with other guys. I mean, it's very rare in baseball you get like a one-for-one. It's very rare you get like a one player for one player trade. It's always including minor leaguers and salary considerations, all of that. But Michael King was so good for the Padres last year. I don't even care if if they're not able to come to a long-term deal after this season. Do I want that to happen? Absolutely I do, because I think Michael King is going to be good for many years. But I just think that you really need to keep what you have right now in place, especially starting pitching. A user on X says they need to sign him to an extension. I don't disagree that they need to sign him for an extension. I don't necessarily know that it's going to be happening this year because, he still is on his last year of arbitration. He still is on a lesser scale because he was not a starter with the Yankees. He was mostly a reliever, and so he's going to be paid reliever arbitration money. And with the current state of what's going on with the Padres spending, I don't think that they make that commitment. Now, could it be an extremely team-friendly, structured deal where it helps them this year clear up some space or add some players? It could be something like that. But I think Michael King, as he should be, is looking for a big payday because he has pitched well enough so far in a Padres uniform to give him that payday. But we're only basing that off of 1 year. And even though it was a great year, I'm not sold yet, just like Jurickson Profar heading into a $42 million contract with the Braves. I need to see it one more time for Michael King. If he is anywhere near what he was last year, there is a good possibility that the Padres get outbid in free agency. That's why an extension early will help, because then they don't have to worry about that. But I really think Michael King needs to be a part of this rotation in 2025, and he might even be the number one pitcher in this rotation in 2025. It might go King, Cease, Darvish, or Darvish, King, Cease. I don't know. But he's going to be in those top three. And he 100% is someone that the Padres cannot give away. And also the things that when you trade a player like Michael King, you're trading a proven guy, and maybe they get some proven guys back, but you're trading a proven guy who you know what he's going to do. Now, sometimes these trades just don't work out. And so that's why I don't think the Padres can afford to trade Michael King. Another reason why they can't afford to trade him. Because you have to be, we talked about the fine line earlier on Guitacris. I talked about the fine line last week. Padres are going to have to play well the entire year in all facets. Because as the roster looks right now, they aren't built for injury. They're not built for depth. And that could come soon. As Chris mentioned earlier, David Peralta is still out there. But I need to see Michael King do it one more time this year, and then, then the Padres can go into big-time extension zone. Another comment. If the season starts today, who is our other two starting pitchers? Who's our starting left fielder? And who's actually going to catch this rotation? Well, the good thing about this, X-user, is what it tells me. The good thing about this is that the season doesn't start today, and they have plenty of time. They have a couple months. I'm going to do this throughout the entire spring training season. I'm going to not panic. I'm going to be patient because there is still time for this to figure out, or for them to figure out this. And they did it last year. They're going to have to be very creative, as they always are, but they are in a place where every little bit matters. And, I plan on going into this in a little bit. I'm not sure if I want to do it now or on the other side. I'm probably going to do it on the other side. But I went through and I got a lot, or I went through the numbers for some of these players that are, the highest paid players on the Padres team. The Big Six, as I'll call them. And those guys are the guys that have to perform at the level that we think they're going to perform. They have to. If they don't, then this team's gonna struggle. If Manny Machado struggles, which I don't think he'll do because he ends up putting up the same exact numbers every single year, around 27 to 30 home runs, around 95 to 110 RBIs. And we know Manny started slow last year, but we also know that he had an elbow injury that I think was a big part of it. But he heated up as the season went along. Fernando ended up hitting 276 last year. He had 21 home runs, only 49 RBIs, but that was with 50 less games, 50 less games than Manny Machado. So I don't want to give away everything yet, but what I'm saying is that this is the core, and I'll tell you what they accounted for on the team in the next segment. But when you say, because AC wrote the article, Padres placing in the top 10 in payroll doesn't jibe with doom and gloom projections. Here's my thought about, at face value, the Padres being in the top 10 of payroll. Number one, that means that they're still trying. They're not trading away their biggest players in their contracts just to get payroll off the books. That's not happening. So that tells me that they are still competing in the front office. I don't think anybody's just sitting there hoping that this all goes away. I think that they know they have to be proactive this year in the front office and general manager. But the other part of that top 10 payroll thing goes a couple ways. And when we get back, I'm going to tell you which ways those go. I'm also going to share those numbers with you because I think it does help to kind of break it down a little bit so we can see where all of this is coming from and see what this top 10 in payroll is going to be all about in 2025. We'll also talk about the lawsuit news, and again, we will be going through the episode talking about mainly everything, and in the last segment, I have a few fun stories that we could talk about. So I'm Matt Skraby. This is the Skraby Show. It's 97.3 The Fan. When we get back, more Padres talk, and I'm going to tell you those numbers shortly. I already said 97.3 The Fan, so I thought it was redundant, so I'll just go to break. So over the weekend, I did something new for the first time, and it's actually the second time I have worked with this organization, but I did a little bit of play-by-play. And I told you last week that I was going to be doing over the weekend, but I've been working with the San Diego County Office of Education, and they have high school esports tournaments. And so Chris, who is the guy that I'm working with, he invited me to come and do some play-by-play a few months ago for Rocket League, which was fun. And then on Saturday, it was a tournament for Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. So I'm not sure what the difference between Ultimate and the other ones is, but I guess it sounds pretty cool. When we first started this thing, I'm going to bring clips tomorrow because I didn't get a chance to go through it all, but I'm going to have a few clips tomorrow. But when it started, had no idea what was happening. I really didn't. And that's kind of a bad feeling to have when you are the guy tasked with talking and you have no idea what's happening. So as I went along in my play-by-play on Saturday, I got a little bit better. But I got to say, these kids are good at their games. And people kind of snicker when I say the esports stuff, but esports is becoming a bigger and bigger thing right now. I mean, there were high schools that had to be turned away for this Super Smash Brothers esports tournament. So it's bigger. And you know what? It's actually for kids who don't like to play like the physical sports, the action sports like basketball, football. It's actually a really good team sport because they have to work together and they're playing on the same team. And I don't know if you've ever played a game on the same team as someone before. It's not easy. So they have to talk to each other. They have to do a ton of stuff that is team related. But I had a good time. Kearney High School won. And I will bring some clips for everybody tomorrow. At one point, I think I'm going to bring this clip. At one point, I just go, wow, or something along these lines. Wow, there's a lot of action going on in the air right now. Because I had no idea. But like I said, I have it figured out as I went along. But Katrina and Rod, two Skrabinators, were in the chat on Saturday hearing me do this, and I was very self-conscious, but they said I did a good job. So thank you guys, Katrina and Rod, for making me feel better. But, you know, I don't think when I go back and listen, I'm going to like what I hear. I'm my own worst critic. I am. I'm so mean to myself. My therapist tells me all the time, you got to be nicer to yourself. And Tony tells me that all the time, you got to be nicer to yourself. So maybe I should listen finally and be nicer to myself, but I guess we'll see. We'll see how that goes. It keeps me on my toes if I'm mean to myself. All right, back into Padres. And, well, real quick, Lakers up 110-104. I know Tony's freaking out right now. There's like less than a minute to go. And they were up by 20 earlier in the game. But anyway, so we were talking about this team being a top 10 payroll team. And that is true. They could be a top 10 payroll team, or more likely to be a top 10 payroll team. But I know why everyone is feeling like it doesn't matter. And the reason is we aren't feeling like this is a top 10 payroll team because the Padres have not added this offseason. So the current salary that is in the current payroll that is being accounted for in this top 10 is obviously core players that have had their deals done for a while. The Mannies, the Xanders, the Fernandos, the Yu Darvishes, all of those guys are Joe Musgrove, even though unfortunately he's not going to pitch this year because of Tommy John. But that's why when they say we're going to be in the top 10 of payroll, that's why I don't think it hits as well as I think it should. Because these guys that they're already paying, that they are paying a lot of money to be the core of the team and to be the leaders of the team, and this is a rough number, I just did the math in the break roughly, but it's like $150 million. 153 is what my calculator came up to. For anyone who's being paid $10 million or more on the team coming up in 2025. $153 million is what those guys, anybody who makes more than $10 million in the Padres in 2025. So a top 10 payroll team, I should have had this number ready, to be honest. I went through everything except for getting the actual number of what's happening around baseball, but Spot Track is my favorite. And currently, right now, the Padres are 9th in payroll in baseball, right above the Cubs. So they have they're saying that the total payroll allocation for the Padres right now is $193 million. Now, do I think that the Padres need to spend $250 million? No, I don't. And I say don't do that because you already have $153 million tied up into certain players. But the Padres, here is the list. It goes Dodgers, Phillies, Yankees, Mets, Blue Jays, Rangers, Astros, Braves, Padres, Cubs. And then even the Angels are the 11th highest paid, have the 11th highest payroll in baseball, which is kind of crazy. But you talk about some of those teams. Texas Rangers, they won the World Series a couple years ago, but they didn't make the playoffs last year and they had a high payroll. I would say that the Padres are more talented than some of these teams that have spent a bunch of money. I would say, the Padres eliminated the Braves last year, and the Braves are just above the Padres. And the Braves' number is actually helped out because Ozzie Albies and Ronald Acuna Jr. took extremely team-friendly deals when they did. So the Braves' number could be higher with both of those guys, but it's not. I do feel like the money that they have right now tied up into players it's going to be okay in regards to the top 10 payroll and maybe paying too much money to certain guys and worried about the money situation, worried about the payroll situation. Because if you take the 6 guys right now, Manny, Fernando, Luis Arraez, Merrill, Cronenworth, and Xander Bogaerts, you take those 6 and combined across all the team stats throughout the entire year, those 6 guys combined for over 50% of all of the stats. So if that, and sometimes they account for even more than 100%. Like those 6 guys had a better batting average than the team batting average. Those 6 guys only, they did contribute to 50% of the strikeouts. But what I'm trying to say is, because I'm kind of confusing myself because I got all these numbers in front of me. What I'm trying to say is these guys are the guys that need to have a great year. And again, Manny always does. I think Fernando is going to have a good year. I think Fernando is going to he's going to stay healthy this year. I think that each year Fernando goes through a full season, he learns about what he needs to be doing to stay healthy. If Fernando Tatis Jr. plays 150 games this year, I mean, this isn't 102 games last year. He had 21 home runs, 49 RBIs. He hit 276. His OPS was 833, and that's with 102 games. Think about what he would do. Like, he had 438 plate appearances. The next closest one would be Xander Bogaerts. He was also injured. But if we don't take an injured player, we go to Arraez, and he joined the team late, but he had 524 plate appearances. Manny had 643. That's 200 plate appearances more than Fernando Tatis Jr. And Fernando was 8 home runs less than Manny Machado last year. These guys are going to, and Merrill's not even counting against this money that I'm talking about. But Merrill is a part of this core. He's part of the core 6. I haven't come up with a name yet for it. But there's one guy, and I think everybody can guess who it is, but there's one guy who has to be a lot better than the last couple years for the Padres, and that's Xander Bogaerts. Xander Bogaerts is someone who per season, AAV, average annual value, he makes the most money on the team. I hope I'm saying that right. Or at least he's top 3, because then I think Manny makes like 30-something million dollars a year. But he's in the top 3 paid players on the team. And he has to be a lot better. He really does. The Padres need the guy that they signed. Padres need the guy that they're paying $25 million to. They need that. And he has to deliver this year for the Padres. Last couple years, they were, last year they were okay with him doing what he was doing. But I just don't think we can go another year with Xander Bogaerts being average. Manny's actually only getting paid $17 million this year is what I'm seeing right now. So next year, it goes up to 25, and then 2027, he's getting paid $39 million. So Xander Bogaerts is the number 1 paid player on the team, and he needs to be better. He knows it. The Padres know it. We know it. But if we can get any sort of Xander Bogaerts that he was in Boston, that would be a win, a huge win. I don't even need Xander Bogaerts to live up to $25 million a year. I just need Xander Bogaerts to do more than what he's done so far with the Padres in the 2 seasons that he's been with them. And I think Xander Bogaerts is a leader, and I think that he knows he needs to step up this season. He's not getting younger. This team's not getting younger. And again, that fine line that we've been talking about between the season working out and possibly the season not working out is very fine. It could go either way easily. And if those players live up to what they did last year, which is accumulating 50+% of stats throughout the year for the team, then I think that the Padres will be okay. Now, do they need more players? Yes. This is all just in a vacuum of what they have right now, and I'm discounting that there's no left fielder, or they don't have a catcher, or they don't have 2 starting pitchers. That will get done. But all you need is those guys to be awesome. Brandon says the core 6. Manny, Nando, Merrill, Bogey, Crony, Arise. The 6 sticks. Let's see. X needs to give it to you. That's right, Jacob. X does need to give it to us, not me, but Padres fans. So that's what I was thinking about over the weekend, and I was talking with friends, and the doom and gloom is real out there for everyone. I know that there are certain fans that aren't dooming and glooming, but even I catch myself dooming and glooming. Like, before I went and sat down and got all those numbers, I was thinking that I was going to find that it was going to be a much worse result, but it wasn't. So maybe we shouldn't doom and gloom just yet. I know that it's getting close to the season, but it will all work out in regards to the roster. And I think it's going to work out throughout the season if these guys can stay healthy. That's the number 1 thing. Knock on wood, stay healthy. Absolutely have to. Yu Darvish has to have a good year as well. I mean, everybody has to have good years. All of them for the Padres to go to the playoffs. We'll see what happens. We'll see what is going down here shortly. I know that spring training report dates February 12th, I believe, is for pitchers and catchers. February 17th for the rest. So that's very close. And they will be in Arizona shortly. Sam Levitt will be in Arizona shortly. And, we go from there. Blue Meanie says, let's doom and gloom at the All-Star break if needed. Oh, I'm sure we will. So many doomers became fans back in 2020 to 2021. I don't know about that. Ooh, Jonathan says the Sinister Six. Kind of like that. I like any sort of horror movie name. Anyway, all right. Going to break. When we get back, quick update on the lawsuit. Because, again, not my favorite thing to talk about, but I know it's important. And then we have a daily gripe, and we'll talk about some movies I saw over the weekend, and we'll talk about what I think about the NFL has actually figured out that I love. And that's all next on 97.3 The Fan. All right, final segment for Monday on the Skraby Show. 97.3 The Fan. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. I just looked up at the TV real quick. That's what I do. Anthony Davis had 42 points tonight, 23 rebounds. So, pretty good night for Anthony Davis. We are, or have been, talking about the Padres a little bit, and I do need to, talk about the lawsuit because there were some articles published this morning, and not my favorite subject in the world to talk about because, honestly, we're not going to know anything for as long as it takes for this to, I guess the term is litigation, as long as that takes. So we don't know who has a smoking gun. We don't know if this person has proof that this person doesn't know about. We don't know any of that. So I cannot tell you who I think is in the driver's seat because I just don't know. But I guess Kevin Acee sent an email over to Sheil Seidler and her people and asked some questions. And this is all on San Diego Union Tribune's website. You can see all of these things. And so I read that. I read the article that was titled Lawsuit Interviews Offer Differing Accounts of Sheil Seidler's Past Role with the Padres. So long story short, basically what this is both sides saying that the other side isn't really telling the truth, which is nothing new. We already knew that. But there's no, the one thing I keep coming back to, and I've only said it a couple times, is that this is just so unfortunate for fans. I really don't like that this is happening right now, heading into a season that's very important. The window is still open, and I just don't like that this is what is going on now. And we talked about it in Padres Pen Pals, but I don't know Peter Seidler, didn't know Peter Seidler. I don't know Sheil Seidler, don't know the Seidler brothers, don't know anyone. But from what I learned, and I'm not coming down on anyone in this, but from what I learned, I don't think this is what Peter wanted. And I don't know, like, if he put together the succession plan and we're just confused as to who is the successor. So these are all the things that we just have to wait for because it's not going to happen until this all plays out in a court of law. It's just something that I think in the bigger picture of things, it's in the bigger picture of things with this lawsuit is that it's putting the team maybe not second, but it's putting the team on a back burner, which in a baseball organization, yes, you do need owners, you do need people to make decisions, but I'm never a fan of when things in the front office become more important than what's going on the field. And I understand for the groups involved, this is a big deal. This is a huge deal. But for fans like me and everybody else, to me, it's somewhat of a distraction. And again, we don't know why this was done at the time it was done. We'll find that out later. But that's basically what is happening. And I'll read some quotes from each side just so people don't say that I didn't cover each side. But when Sheil was asked by Kevin Acee about some of these claims that are being spread by anonymous sources, the response was, quote, "It is a challenge to respond to false claims when they are being spread by anonymous sources. What I do know is there are many people within the Padres organization or with close ties who would strongly refute these claims and offer firsthand examples of my deep involvement in the franchise for more than a decade. Sadly, however, it is my understanding they have been instructed in writing not to assist me in explaining their knowledge of my role in the decision-making related to the team. It is also my understanding they feel they can't help without losing their jobs, even though as I understand it, most of the baseball part of the organization remains supportive of me. So then, in another article from Kevin Acee, a statement was sent to the Union Tribune on behalf of the Peter Seidler Trust. Matt Seidler is the trustee and said, quote, Shield continues to be part of the Padres family, but it is not correct to say that she had any role in running the franchise. It is unfortunate that she has taken this course of action. The trustees of the Peter Seidler Trust are solely focused on carrying out Peter's written instructions. That includes setting the Padres up to build on the momentum of the 2024 season in pursuit of a World Series championship for the city of San Diego. That last sentence means a lot to me. Or those last two sentences. The trustees of the Peter Seidler Trust are solely focused on carrying out Peter's written instructions. That includes setting the Padres up to build on the momentum of the 2024 season in pursuit of a World Series championship for the city of San Diego. That's all I care about right there. Because none of us get control of the Padres out there, unless one of the people involved are listening at this moment. This is what I want both sides to latch onto. Peter's dream was to build a World Series winner, a World Series champion. And we talked all 2024 like, hey, we're going to be launched into 2025. This is going to be great. They're coming off of a strong season. They won 93 games. And I feel like all of that momentum has been sucked out of the room. And it has nothing to do with one side or the other. It's just what everybody is being faced with right now. So, truthfully, I don't care what happens with the lawsuit. I guess as long as the Padres continue to win on the field and as the Padres are taken care of. Because although there is a lot at stake for people involved, I mean, and to a different degree. I'm not comparing the two, but fans have invested a lot into this team too. Understanding that the road ahead was building a championship team. So fans got behind that. And I'm not saying that they haven't done that, because last year, I mean, outside of, I think it was 24 straight innings without a run, they were on their way. I mean, even the Dodgers said it, and they said it after the fact, so I don't know if it's just saying it, but I don't think they would say it if they didn't mean it. They said the Padres are the most dangerous. They said that the Padres were the most dangerous team in the playoffs. So I don't see why that should change going into 2025. Because Peter wanted to win a World Series. And that's really all I am going to be concerned about, is what they do on the field. Now, is there tentacles everywhere? Yes, there's tentacles everywhere, touching all the different parts of this story. But I do think that once we get to baseball, we are going to, once we get to baseball, we're going to start focusing on baseball. This will all be kind of in the background a little bit, hopefully. I hope this doesn't become our talking points during the season. I hope I'm talking about Fernando taking a pitch when he should have swung or whatever. I hope we're talking about stuff like that. I will gladly talk about the Padres not hitting for 24 innings and talk about this, because no one wants this to happen. No one wants this to happen. PA, I don't even know how to pronounce the last name. Let's be real. The first half of last season, everybody was saying same old Padres. You know what? I agree. I mean, because it was kind of like that. We talked about it earlier. It was one step forward, two steps back. One step forward, two steps forward, one step back. And then you take 3 steps forward, and then you take 5 steps back. But they found it in the second half. That is the team I think the Padres are going to bring to 2024. Or at least the guys who are still here. I think that is what's going to happen with the Padres. I am a positive person. And especially with sports, I always feel like my team has a chance, even if they don't. Because I want to believe that. I'd rather believe that they have a chance to win going into a game than dooming that they're going to lose before the game has even been played. I see the comments on the chat. I mean, every national broadcast this team has, that's all they will talk about. I could see that, Jacob, but I hope not. KG, the national media despises this franchise. I guess I can't really say that national media despises, but, there's been some stuff in the past, obviously, that we've talked about on the show many times. Okay, so that's it with that. We'll just keep an eye on it going forward. Again, not my favorite thing to talk about at all. The NFL has figured out one thing that I think is genius. And I don't say this normally about the NFL, but the NFL has figured out the extra point. The extra point used to be automatic. It was like from the 2-yard line, 19-yard field goal, 17-yard field, whatever it was. Easy, never was missed for the most part. Every once in a while, it would be like, oh, crazy. They missed an extra point. But now, the extra point is must-see TV, especially in the playoffs. Because last night, I was watching the game, and the Bills scored a touchdown. They needed the extra point to tie it up, I believe, at 22. 22. Don't quote me on the score. But they needed to make the extra point, and I was glued to my screen. Like, is Tyler Bass going to make this extra point? I mean, we see it during the regular season games sometimes where, like, I know for a fact the Commanders ended up scoring a big touchdown at the end of a game. I think it was against the Cowboys, but they scored that touchdown, and then the kicker missed the extra point, and they lost the game. I mean, that is high stakes right there. And I do think that they have figured out the right formula for the extra point, because I am going to be watching every extra point, because a lot of these guys are starting to miss these extra points. I don't think that there are many kickers that go out there like not worried about the kick. They're worried about these extra points. And it could change the entire outlook of a game, as we all know, and as we have seen many, many times. So that's what I think the NFL has done right. They figured out the extra point. What they haven't done right is figure out how to stop calling games for the Chiefs. I don't know if you were here earlier, but I came across some audio, and it was from when the Bills were stopped on 4th down, and the referee, Clete Blakeman, went over to the replay machine, and this is what they found.
Hey, Raj, I'm seeing a first down for Buffalo here. How should I proceed?
You shall call them short.
But Raj, the referee on the right side marked him past the first down.
You shall call them short.
Okay, Raj, all I'm saying is it looks to be a first down and the world is already onto us.
When I tell you to call them short, you call them short. I will not miss out on the opportunity for the Chiefs to three-peat. There's too much money to be made.
I just don't feel comfortable with that, Raj.
You do as I say, or you will never referee a meaningful NFL game ever again.
Got it, boss.
I cannot believe that I got that audio, but it proves everything. Roger Goodell is behind the scenes telling people what to do in the replay booth. That was live audio from yesterday. I'm the only one in the country that found it, but Roger Goodell needs to get a throat lozenge or something, because he is not sounding too good at all. All right, running out of time. Final thing. I told you guys I saw Nosferatu, or I was going to watch Nosferatu. I think Jacob said Nosferatu wasn't very good. I did watch it over the weekend. Nosferatu was slow, but it was better than I thought it was. Weird story, obviously. I also have a theory that when movies were made in the 20s, they didn't need some complex story because people are just happy to go and see a movie. But nowadays, everybody needs these complex stories. But I didn't think Nosferatu was that bad. I did think that it was a little long. That's all. The Substance I also saw over the weekend. Now, this movie is weird. Weird, but good. I don't want to give anything away, but I suggest everybody watch The Substance. If you're into, like, scary-ish movies, I don't really know that it's a horror movie, but it's a thriller, sci-fi. It's kind of like that, but I can't say anything because it'll give away the movie. It'll give away the movie, but The Substance, very good.
What's annoying Skraby today? Let's find out. It's time for the Daily Gripe.
Turned off my mic and I talked into it again. All right, so my Daily Gripe today. It's not something that happened to me, but it's something that I definitely really, really love to watch on YouTube. More watch on YouTube. I like to find these fails, but it's boat launch fails. Has anyone ever seen a compilation of boat launch fails? And I'm not talking about like big boats, even though those are crazy when they put a cruise liner in the water and then they put it in the water and then it tips over or something like that. No, this is like regular people boats, just like normal boats. And these idiots that try to launch their boats and then they get like stuck, or they put it so far into the water that they can't get their truck out of the water because now they're like underwater. But I saw this one that takes the cake from worst boat launch fails ever. And it was these two guys that had A, way too small of a truck, and B, way too big of a boat. So they put their truck into the water. They're trying to get the boat off. They're doing all these things. They're not kicking it, but they're pushing off against it. So they think they have it. And they pull the trailer out. They think they got it. But the boat kind of stays on the trailer and it goes up the ramp a little bit. And then the boat falls off into the ramp. They didn't get it into the water. And they were just stuck there. So boat launch fails. Watch those. They are hilarious. Hilarious. Poncho says, what's your golf handicap? Like 15. 15 is my golf handicap. All right. Thanks, everybody, for being with me tonight. Back tomorrow. Gwen and Chris, 2 p.m. Ben and Woods, 6 a.m. Annie and Elston, 10 a.m. on 97.3 The Fan.